Daddy's Little Girl. And this goes out to the stage management crew at the Bristol Renaissance Festival, especially my favorite stage manager, Samantha. This story is for you. Renee did not have an easy childhood. You know, that postcard family where mom and dad are loving and dote on you and get you everything you want and read you bedtime stories. That was not her family. Renee was the girl that no one quite knew what to do with or how to act towards. Everyone always seemed afraid of her, afraid of how to handle her. They always seemed intimidated, even when she was a small child. The other children, when she went for school, avoided her and acted like she was invisible, and they would talk around her. It did not matter at all that she was very intelligent and tried to be very outgoing and helpful, that she tried to do the things that you do to be popular as a child. Those things were never enough. And somehow she was always an outcast, at home, at school, wherever she went. And as she got older, she got used to this. And one day, she went into a gas station to buy a cold drink. And as she was standing there waiting to pay, in line with everyone else, with people giving her the normal funny looks, although she looked no different than anyone else. She'd gone out of her way to avoid tattoos and piercings, specifically so that people would not be afraid of her. She tried very hard to look sweet and cute, and yet they gave her an uneasy eye and stood several feet away, even though they're in the same line and she's just buying a Pepsi. It's when the guys came running in the door. One of them grabbed her. He had a gun. The other one started waving a gun around, calling for money from behind the counter, calling for money from the people in line. They were definitely high on drugs. It was definitely meth. Their teeth were gone in the front. They looked like some kind of cheap jack-o'-lantern gone bad. And there she was, getting ripped around to the left and right by this pain in the ass of a guy who's got a gun to her head. And there's the other one. And everyone else is terrified, and she was too. But in that moment of being torn back and forth and her shirt ripping down the front, and them suddenly realizing they had a girl caught and they had a gun, something broke, or maybe it was finally fixed. And she decided to go with the feeling that was suddenly rising up. Hunger. Hunger. And as he held her there, she flipped around and faced him. And the look in her eye was fury. But whatever he saw was terrifying. He tried to break away, but she grabbed him. She felt something pushing at her from the side, and she grinned. It only made her hunger more. And the more afraid he looked, the better it felt. It felt like the first time in her life she'd finally eaten a meal. I mean, she'd eaten things before. She'd had candy bars and Thanksgiving dinners, but nothing like this. And the more afraid he was, the more she supped, until he dropped. His eyes rolled up in his head, he started to shake, he started to froth, and he dropped. And as he did, she watched him fall, and she realized that there were blood blossoms down the side of her shirt. She felt nothing from the gunshots that should have killed her. And the other guy was screaming, and all the people too, and the fear was an ocean, and she was drinking it all. The intoxication was better than any wine she'd ever had. And she turned around towards the other one, and she strode towards him. All those years of being cast out, well, she would wear it proud. She walked right up to him and grabbed him by the throat, and she felt that little punch. 2, 3, 4, and she laughed, and the laugh she made shattered glass in the coolers, shattered glass on the shelves. And the people in line with her that had given her funny looks, they were on the floor writhing and foaming as well. And when she walked out, there was not one left alive. But those holes, they were just in the shirt. By then, everything else was gone. My mother always said there was a secret about my father. And she realized on that day, the secret was, her father was not her father. But what was he? What was she? She would wander the world and find out.